Each year as the weather warms, millions of birds of all shapes and sizes and colors make their annual trip north. For migrating birds, the Great Lakes region is an essential part of their long and often dangerous journey. For some migrants, the Great Lakes Basin is a destination for raising their young, but most simply stop here to rest and refuel on their way to and from temperate breeding grounds further north. Most birds spend the day fattening up. They start the next leg of their journey as the sun sets over the Great Lakes, traveling long distances under the cover of darkness. This makes migration difficult to observe. To shine some light on these nocturnal migrations, Dr. Jeff Bueller uses a technology that's been around for a long time: weather radar.
Here in the U.S., we have a network of over 150 weather radar stations that have been collecting data 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every 5 to 10 minutes.
Meteorologists use radar to predict weather by detecting raindrops in the air. But this technology can also be used to detect flying animals like birds, bats, and even insects.
Physicists have told us that radars are theoretically capable of detecting a bumblebee at 50 miles away. And so we get a measure of how much biomass is in these volumes of airspace that the radar sample. And so that allows us to actually detect birds regardless of whether it's night or day, and to be able to see where they're going, how quickly they're moving, what direction they're flying.
Connecting the dots between each radar allows Dr. Bueller to get a broad-scale view of migration and to identify hotspots of activity in areas where birds most frequently stop to rest and refuel before continuing their journeys.
Conservation organizations are able to use these maps that we can produce with the radar observations to identify where they want to spend their limited resources in order to conserve lands that will support high numbers of birds during migratory stopover.
The clues that radar provide about where birds are going and stopping during migration are an important piece of a puzzle that biologists are trying to put together in order to conserve migrating bird populations.
So a lot of these long-distance migratory songbirds have been declining over the period of maybe the last 30 years, and that was kind of when we really started sounding the alarm and at the same time started looking at these migratory stopovers as an important part of their life cycle.
By collecting seeds from fecal samples of birds, Dr. Craves can study what fruits birds are eating at these areas of stopover habitat and which resources are most important to birds during migration.
They need to have the right resources to have the strength and energy to be able to complete their journey. It's like if your car runs out of gas before you hit the next gas station, you're in big trouble.
Understanding what birds are eating is important, because whether or not a bird can find enough food during migration is a matter of life or death. And to fly long distances, birds need to eat a lot.
Birds can put on a substantial amount of fat in a very short period of time. So it's equivalent to, say, a 100-pound person putting on 10 pounds in one day. Birds do this. They can gain 10% of their body mass in one day during this period of time prior to migration in order to gain the fat they need to fuel a long-distance flight.
Dr. Owen studies the insect diet of migrating birds. By taking breathalyzer samples, she measures isotopes that can actually tell us what a given bird has eaten.
We're looking at the stable carbon-13 signature because insects that are primarily aquatic have a different carbon signature than terrestrial insects. So we can see if the bird is primarily eating aquatic-derived insects or if it's terrestrial-derived insects. If it is aquatic-derived insects, that we know that occurs near nearshore habitats.
But increasingly, birds are finding shorelines highly developed, and many areas of high-quality stopover habitat have been altered. It then becomes particularly important to understand how birds use any remaining habitat to better protect them.
Birds, like people, like coastal areas. And because humans like shorelines just as much as birds, we've put our cities there. And so these birds are following ancient paths and going along coastal areas because the water is there, but the natural habitat isn't as much anymore. And so we really need to understand how birds are using these areas and what we can do to help them have the proper resources so that this ancient migratory journey can continue.
The tireless work of all these researchers is producing a wealth of data on the behavior of migratory birds, contributing to the scientific literature. Dr. Dave Ewart at the Nature Conservancy uses this information to compile existing knowledge of stopover habitat for migratory birds into one resource that promotes conservation.
The Nature Conservancy has worked with a lot of collaborators to try to come up with a tool that people can use, a decision-making tool, to better focus their scarce resources on the most important stopover sites. So we developed a web portal that summarizes our findings so that the public can access those and say, okay, this site's really important, this one is less important, based on the criteria we've derived, and we hope this will then help drive conservation programs in the Great Lakes region.
As many migrating populations have been declining, and people in the Great Lakes Basin are becoming more interested in viewing these birds firsthand, more conservation activity can result in a win-win for people and nature in the region.
I think as a society, we've always promoted good stewardship of the land, and birds are part of that stewardship. So as we protect birds, we're protecting other parts of our landscape and vice versa. And if we take that perspective, I think we'll all be better off, certainly ecologically, economically, and for the long-term maintenance of our society.